Howdy, neighbor. Just move in?
Yeah, last night.
Harold Gorton.
Hi, Roger.
Roger. Well, hey, it's great to have a new neighbor. Woman lived here before you was nuts. Biggest bitch under the sun. Just a senile old hag, really. Wouldn't be surprised if someone just got fed up and offed her, you know what I mean?
She was my aunt.
Heart of gold, though. Just a saint, really. And such a beautiful woman for her age. Mm-hmm. Would you like some dinner?
Ding dong, you're dead. Welcome to I Hope You Suffer.
God damn it.
Welcome to episode 36 of I Hope You Suffer. My name is Nathan.
I'm Kit.
And this week we watched House from 1986, a perfect movie. Has some perfect creature effects in it.
Absolutely.
I fucking love I love all these, like all four of the House movies are good, I think.
I've never seen 3 or 4. I've seen 1 and 2.
Like, I've seen them 3 and 4 once. I've been trying to get them. Like, they released them on Blu-ray, and then by the time I realized it, they were sold out, like, everywhere, so I haven't been able to get them yet.
Oh, yeah.
I think one of them takes place in, like, an apartment building, if I remember correctly.
Well, that's kind of a misnomer.
Yeah, it's weird. I know Kane Hodder is in both of them. I remember that. I think he's in 2 as well.
He's the house.
Yeah, they're inside Kate Hodder. I didn't realize, like, I've seen this movie a bunch, and I never really put together that Sean Cunningham was, like, a producer on it.
Yeah.
Which explains Steve Miner directing it, because he did, like, Friday the 13th, 2 and 3.
What a great resume.
Also, Halloween H2O. Also, Soul Man. Have you ever seen Soul Man?
Oh, no. I've never seen Soul Man, but I am very aware of Soul Man.
It used to play on Comedy Central all the time, and it is real terrible.
Yikes. He did Warlock? I did not know he did Warlock.
Yeah, he's got like a pretty decent...
That's an underrated gem that features no blackface.
I saw Soul Man, and I was like, oof. Gotta have one bad credit, I guess, in there.
Wow, this dude's all over the place. He had a... God damn it, I just blanked on it. Lake Placid.
Yeah. Does he have like a TV stuff in there too? Somebody in here I was looking at had a shit ton of TV.
9 episodes of The Wonder Years.
Yeah, that's right. He was like he did like a bunch of directing of The Wonder Years.
And 4 episodes of Dawson's Creek. He is very, very talented. He's
I mean, like,
all over the place, tone-wise.
Like, all of the actors in this movie are essentially people from TV, because, like, all of their credits were just, like, a fuck ton of, like, 90s TV shows and shit in the 80s. But yeah, this movie directed by Steve Miner, written by Fred Decker and Ethan Wiley, which Fred Decker, everybody should know as the director of Monster Squad and Night of the Creeps. Monster Squad, also an excellent movie.
Yeah. Two other perfect films.
Yes. This movie stars William Catt as Roger Cobb, the greatest American hero, wearing a very sick, very deep-cut V-neck sweater through portions of this movie, with no shirt on under it. George Wendt as Harold Gordon from Cheers, but more importantly, the Trip episode of Seinfeld with Corbin Burnson.
The whole time I was just like, why isn't he calling him Norm?
What's funny is George Wendt is in this movie, and then in House 2, I forget the guy's name, but like Norm's best friend from Cheers is in House 2 as like the neighbor or whatever. Richard Mall as Big Ben. As
The best.
Kit pointed out before we started recording from the Flintstones movie.
He's got a million other credits, but number one will always be the Flintstones movie. Or possibly Jingle All the Way, where he plays Dementia.
Jingle All the Way is amazingly terrible.
A fourth perfect film.
Everybody in this cast is just full of perfect films. Kay Lenz as Sandy Sinclair. Michael Einstein as Chet Parker. Steve Susskind as Frank McGraw, who is from the Dealership episode of Seinfeld, which is a very good one. Kurt Wilmot as Skeleton Big Ben.
They should have called him Ben Big.
Yes,
That's
I agree.
way better.
And then Elizabeth Barrington, who is just listed as one of the little creatures, who was in the Yada Yada episode of Seinfeld.
That's a good episode too.
There were like 3 people just listed as little creature in this movie. Yeah, I've been a fan of this movie since probably like 92, whenever, like sometime around then, when I remember renting it from probably Blockbuster.
Absolutely, Blockbuster.
Well, we used to go to Blockbuster, and then we had like a local drugstore that rented movies that had like a insane horror section. So it was one of those two, but I fucking love this movie. But it also took me roughly 4 hours to get through today because of distractions, and it made it almost unbearable to watch.
It's like on YouTube, you can slow down certain videos to like 10% their regular speed. Just like doing that.
It would be like watching like a video game playthrough, but every 15 minutes it like has a 5-minute ad in it. So it's already like a 9-hour video that ends up being like 16 hours because of ads. You'd seen this movie before this, right?
Yep.
All right, yeah, I just wondered. I feel like this movie has like a very weird audience of people that are either like very into it or people that think it's absolutely terrible. Which those people are incorrect.
I don't know how you could dislike this movie.
Yeah. I mean, like, I guess I could see people being like, it's kind of boring, but also not really. I kind of get the pushback on House 2, because House 2 just went from being like a horror movie into just a fucking slapstick comedy, but
wasting no time getting there.
So this movie opens with a delivery boy delivering groceries to Miss Hooper. When he gets to the front door and knocks on it, it comes open, so he just goes in. Here's somebody upstairs, and obviously doing his delivery boy duties goes upstairs to find out what's going on. Yells, "It's me, grocery boy," which makes me laugh every time. Most underrated
it's me,
Avenger.
Grocery boy.
He finds Miss Hooper hanging. You cut to Roger at the funeral of his aunt, who was Miss Hooper. And pretty much immediately after this funeral, you cut to him signing books at, like, basically the one kind of comedy scene in this movie that doesn't involve George Wendt. Because the people there to get their book signed is like the most insanely overdone cast of characters.
Oh my god.
Including
just screaming at him from the line.
The woman from Austin Powers that's yelling about how much she loves his ex-wife. And for some reason it's like it'll be like a weird goth girl, and then some plain dressed dude, and then a punk kid, and then some like other like plain dressed dude.
He's out there writing them for the masses.
I mean, I guess if you think about it, that's probably like how Stephen King signings are.
He's the most relatable author.
For the book Blood Dance. I want to know what that book is about. I'm assuming it's just Carrie. I just put that together. I wonder if it's supposed to be like a nod to Carrie.
It's just the end of Carrie, just stretched out for 300 pages.
Just like explained in very insane detail like Stephen King likes to do. As the blood came down, Stephen and the crowd's dick got very hard and veiny, and just fucking 10 pages of just explaining the dick.
Just all dicks.
Stephen King should write a fucking erotic novel. 7,000 pages long.
All to describe one boner.
It's just one scene. Roger's agent is harassing him to write a new book, and Roger is trying to write a book about his time in Vietnam, which I meant to do the math of, but I literally finished this movie as pretty much like 10 minutes before we started to record. I feel like he probably wasn't old enough to serve in Vietnam.
How old was he supposed to be in this movie?
I'm guessing like 40. Which would have put, I mean, he would have, I guess, maybe been in his 20s. I don't know.
That's about right.
He also looks 40 when he's in his Vietnam flashbacks, so.
I really appreciated his agent rolling his eyes real hard whenever he's like, I'm writing about, my time in Vietnam. You're just like, oh, Jesus.
He literally at one point is like, nobody wants to hear about Vietnam stories anymore. You cut to Roger at, I guess, his bachelor pad apartment he's in now, where he pulls out a frozen meal, doesn't unwrap any of it, throws it inside the box, in the plastic wrapping, in the microwave, and turns it on.
Jesus.
I noticed that on like one of my last couple rewatches of it, and I was like, wait, he literally just pulls the box out of the freezer and throws it in the oven or the microwave. That's
extreme bachelor hours.
Just wants to eat that melted plastic on that fucking gross brownie. Sandy, his ex-wife, who is, I guess, a soap opera actress, calls. Roger immediately turns on the stereo and pretends he's having a loud party. And she just lost some award, and they have this weird, awkward back and forth. Roger has a nightmare about his son disappearing. Immediately packs a suitcase and decides to go stay at his aunt's house.
Why not?
Yeah, that house looks much better than the fucking apartment he was in. There is a sign in front of his aunt's house that is Craven Realty. So I can only assume that's a Wes Craven reference. Or a nod. Dog is acting crazy. Calm down. He's like, I miss Wes Craven.
Yeah. Wes!
It was just like a bunch of nonsense of Roger interacting with this realtor and walking through the house, and I think this is when you're introduced to his aunt's paintings and how she was crazy and thought they were ghosts.
Not so crazy. Dun dun.
Roger has a hallucination of his son Jimmy drowning and jumping in the pool, and when he gets in there, Jimmy is gone. This happens kind of while he's talking to the realtor. There's a scene when they're talking where the realtor is fucking around with a harpoon gun and almost shoots Roger with it.
What a sentence. A realtor's fucking around with a harpoon gun and almost shoots Roger with it. What?
Just like a realtor.
Classic realty agents.
There is another flashback of Roger and Sandy dealing with the police. after their son goes missing, and his aunt comes down and starts telling everybody that like the house is haunted and it's the ghosts, and Sandy gets upset. Roger tells the realtor he's not going to sell the house. He's going to stay there to work on his book. As I guess his first night there, he's trying to work and starts hearing a woman's voice and like searches through the house. And he eventually gets to the room where his aunt hung herself, and he has this vision of her telling him like, the house knows all your secrets, like get out now or whatever, before hanging herself. Roger goes outside the next day, and all of his trash cans are knocked over, and he's kind of like dealing with that as one of his neighbors, this woman Tanya, goes running by, and he immediately just fucking stares at her super hard like a creep. Which also he meets George Wendt's character Harold, who is also doing that.
I'm gonna call him Norm.
Yes. Hard stance from I Hope You Suffer that George Wendt should be in more horror movies.
As Norm.
Yes. He should just show up and like Michael Myers should yell Norm, and then he should just walk out of the scene.
That's it. Every horror movie.
Yes. Michael Myers
Next
has to be in
Halloween.
all of them too. Harold is like introducing himself to Roger and pulls out his copy of his book that has like no binding, and it's just like the papers. Like it legit made me laugh. It's fucking a like pretty good scene of George Wendt just being like a weird, awkward dude. It's pretty funny.
He's killing it.
He is.
It's the character he's born to play. Is just that like overly excitable, awkward neighbor.
Yeah. Who just
Was
like,
it? They have that.
Go
They
ahead.
have that exchange where he's he's like, oh, so you're new here? You know, the lady that used to live there, she was really awful. Nobody liked her. Like, you know, it's probably for the best that she's dead. And he's like, that was my aunt. He's like, yeah, but she had a heart of gold. So.
And it's like that quick, like real quick back and forth where he's just like, oh, she was like terrible. That was my aunt. Oh, woman, heart of gold. She was real pretty too for an old woman. Like, it's so good. After that, you cut to Roger writing, and you get his the first of like the Vietnam flashbacks, and you're introduced to Ben, who seems like a total douchebag. But there's like this quick scene of Roger asking him for a cigarette, and he hands him a cigarette case or whatever. When he opens it, it has a snake in it, which seems like a terrible practical joke, because I feel like that snake had to have been in there for a while before somebody asked him for a cigarette.
It got them a grenade thrown at them.
Yeah.
Because he obviously screams, and they're trying to be quiet in the jungles during a war.
Yeah,
Not a great plan, in my opinion.
They get ambushed, and Ben fucking goes crazy, and like you're kind of introduced to this idea that Ben doesn't take like any of the direction seriously. It is just kind of a crazy dude out there to, I'm guessing, just kill fucking non-white people. Roger, I think after this flashback, hears what he assumes is his son Jimmy. Like, you kind of hear like a faint child voice, and he goes like searching through the house, and that's when he opens the closet and gets attacked by that monster that kind of looks like the monster from the end of Hellraiser.
And he handles it very well.
Well, I mean, he's
like
a vet, I guess.
He's just immediately like, after he gets the closet door closed, like, all right, well, this place is haunted. I guess I got to deal with it.
I guess I better
Just,
order a
like,
truck full of cameras.
Not a big deal. Not like, what the hell was that? Just, all right, this is the game now, huh?
I would immediately have just assumed I lost my mind and checked myself into like a fucking
Yes.
institution.
I'm sure shit would not be in that house anymore.
Yeah.
I'd be back in my shitty little apartment, not dealing with.
I feel like immediately you would do what he does, which is order every type of camera on the market and put on your army.
600 finest security cameras, please.
Put on your army fatigues and try and catch this monster.
Go sprinting through the house.
My favorite thing is that for no reason he goes sprinting through the house and like runs out the front door and like does that weird like knee slide thing with his arms in the air.
Power slide.
And another perfect scene of just Harold's out front with his dog as he does this, and it's just like, oh, hey.
Yeah, this is weird.
Harold is the best. I mean, Norm is the best. When he gets back up there to try and videotape whatever's in this closet and he opens it, there's nothing there. Again, he has like when he goes through his setup of cameras, it's like every single type of like VHS recorder possible, a literal like disposable camera that I don't understand how he thought was going to work in catching anything, because he like literally picks it up and has to do that thing where he like clicks it over, but like there's nothing there to hit the button to take the picture, so I'm not really sure how that was supposed to work. He's like right after he tries to like open the closet to catch this monster, like at midnight, Harold shows up in his house at midnight, telling him something about like, oh, I figured maybe you'd want a midnight snack, because he has zero boundary issues.
Totally normal, not weird, neighborly thing to do.
Yeah. I mean, I say show up at your neighbor's house at midnight with a snack. They'll be stoked.
I'm going to try it tonight. See what happens. There may not be an episode next week. We'll find out.
Next week is just like a clip show of all your best moments. Harold asks him about all the cameras, and Roger tells him immediately about the ghosts in his house. As he's doing this, and he's kind of like walking Harold back out the front door, Harold steals Roger's address book, and another totally normal thing, and calls Roger's ex-wife Sandy to tell her that Roger's lost his fucking mind. Totally cool thing to do.
Yeah. If that was me, and like, you know, someone's calling me saying my ex lost their mind, be like, all right, tight.
Yeah, what do you want me to do
it's
about
it?
Like Sandy immediately tries to call Roger after she gets off the phone with Harold, and Roger is writing and doesn't hear the phone because he's kind of in another flashback. This one, I don't really recall there being much in. It's just kind of like him and Ben interacting. When he gets like out of this flashback, a toy car goes rolling into frame from like outside of the study or whatever, and he goes to pick it up, and he hears a noise behind him, and there's a giant fucking like, I don't know, like a blue marlin maybe? I don't know what kind of fish that is.
Yeah,
on the
marlin.
Yeah, like on the wall that comes alive. It just starts fucking flopping all into the wall.
Has the weirdest eyes.
It is creepy. It is creepier than any monster in this fucking movie. Roger goes into the basement to get a gun, and immediately is attacked by all of the tools in there, like Evil Dead style. Like, I think there's like an axe, there's like gardening shear, some kind of weird fucking scythe thing.
I'd say every pointy object you can possibly imagine.
He manages to get out of the basement before they can any of them can get to him. Goes back upstairs and like shoots the fish, which then just starts like crying, I guess, and he throws a blanket over it.
That's so rude.
It's pretty good though, because then like through the rest of the movie, like periodically you'll see that room in the background, and that blanket is on that fish every time. So somebody was doing their continuity work pretty well.
You just hear its pain screams throughout the rest of the film.
Oh, that'd be amazing. All of the tools from the basement like followed Roger like upstairs into the restroom when he's trying to like take these pills, and he opens the door. He opens the door and like gets out, and then gets them like trapped in the restroom. At this point, Sandy shows up and immediately turns into a gross monster.
Naturally.
As ex-wives tend to do. No, I always forget, like, when I'm watching this, that I'm like, oh, that wasn't really Sandy, because at the very end, she's, like, actually there.
Yeah.
So, like, I'll get, I've seen this movie so many times, and I'll watch it, and I'm just like, oh, fuck, I forgot they killed Sandy off. Then I get to the end, I'm like, oh, fuck, I forgot that wasn't Sandy.
Yeah. That wasn't Sandy at all.
So, this, like, whatever it is, like, turns into a fucking monster of Sandy, and Roger shoots her. She falls out onto, like, the porch, which Harold doesn't see this monster body out there. He just sees Roger with a gun after firing it. Calls the police to report a suicide attempt on Roger's part. Totally normal. He's
too much. He's too much as a neighbor.
I mean, he definitely seems very bored.
He needs to stay inside.
Yeah.
Get an Xbox. Play some Mortal Kombat.
So this was maybe right before Nintendo came out. I bet he chilled out as soon as Nintendo came out.
Roger just moved into the neighborhood too soon.
Yeah. Roger picks up Sandy's body and like hides it in the closet. The police show
totally normal.
Yes. Nothing in this movie is anything a normal person would do. Like everything from grocery boy to fucking Harold. The police show up and Roger is like pretending to sit on the porch, like cleaning the gun. They pull up and just getting a call about somebody that tried to kill themselves, show up and immediately guns drawn, ready to shoot him. As the cops tend to do.
Great police work.
They kind of harass him for a minute, say they're going to give him a citation for firing a gun in like city limits or whatever. And then one of them realizes he is Roger Cobb, the author, and let him off. One of the cops asks if they could use his restroom, and he's kind of like, no, well, I guess, I don't know, whatever. Like
that was one of my favorite exchanges, because the officer is like, oh, wait, you're Roger Cobb. It's like, can you do me a favor? And he's like, yeah, I'll sign something for you. He's like, no, I just need to use your bathroom.
It's so weird. This entire next 5 minutes is just every fucking interaction you see in a movie where the cop shows up and somebody is hiding something illegal, where he's just nervous and acting jittery, and the cops are like, are you all right? Well, you seem fine, we're gonna go. And throughout the entire time, the cops come in, Roger goes to make the cops come in and Harold shows up, and Roger at first is like, get the fuck out of here, I know you called the cops. And as the cops and Roger are having an interaction inside his doorway, Harold just comes in and is like, oh, I'll have some coffee too.
God damn it.
So Roger makes Harold and the one cop coffee. There are bullet shells on the ground. The cop picks them up and is just like, what are these? And he's like, oh, well, I was cleaning the gun. And the cop's just like, well, maybe you probably should not be a fucking dummy and clean a loaded gun.
It's good advice.
It's just a bunch of shit that's supposed to, the cops having a couple close calls, quote unquote, of figuring out Roger is a fucking lunatic. Including one of them admiring his aunt's painting or some shit, and the closet that he hides the body in coming open, the gun goes missing. They eventually leave, and Monster Sandy has Roger's gun and just fucking busts him in the back of the head with the butt of it.
Rude.
Yeah, fucking monsters are terrible house guests.
I'm saying.
They kind of have like a back and forth fight, and they eventually end up in the hallway where she is getting ready to like attack Roger, and he opens the bathroom door, and all of the tools from earlier come out and like stab her, and the shears cut off her head. It is pretty awesome.
So dope.
You immediately cut to Roger like outside. He's got to bury this fucking massive monster body that is now in like two pieces because it's like a head and the body. He gets outside with it in like plastic bags, and his neighbor Tanya is just swimming in his pool. Nobody in this fucking movie has any sort of like, these are the worst neighbors.
I'd be exhausted by these neighbors. Yeah. My God.
She comes over and talks to Roger, and Roger is preoccupied but also just ready to fuck. He like, she has the weird thing. She's like, I could tell when like a man is just needs to work, but I can also tell when they want to play. Which comes back in the weirdest fucking way in a couple scenes.
Oh God.
The entire time she's sitting there talking to Roger, like the monster hand is now like coming out of this trash bag and is trying to like grab at Tanya's like feet. So Roger's doing like
so weird,
that like weird tap dancey fucking trying to hide this thing nonsense. She goes to leave, and while her back's turned, he just starts like walloping this fucking bag with a fucking shovel. And it's like that thing where like she's walking away and then like goes to turn around and he's got the shovel like in midair. Just classic fucking slapstick nonsense. He eventually, after Tanya leaves, is just like decides to cut this body into numerous parts and bury it in different parts of the backyard, which will not look at all suspicious to any sort of police officer that shows up later.
Definitely not strange in any way.
And it's that thing too in like shows where it's just like piles of dirt, so it's like very fucking obvious.
Super obvious.
Roger is back in the house now and is kind of walking through the house and like checking over stuff because he's either believes he's losing his mind or realizes there is something going on in this house.
Why not both?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a mix of both. At some point, he goes outside and sees a dog with the hand of Monster Sally in its mouth. And he goes to chase it, and the dog just fucking runs off. He tries to get into, like, his aunt's car, because he drives a very lame-looking moped at the beginning of this, I think. I forget, no, that was the grocery boy. I forget if he has a car when he gets there. But either way, he can't find the fucking keys to this car. When he goes back downstairs to go out the front door, Tanya is there with her son. Also, like, this is where the line comes back that she's just like, about men who want to play. Apparently she meant play with her fucking son. Another instance of these neighbors just immediately overstepping their bounds. She just shows up with her son and is just like, well, you can babysit him. I gotta go out for the night.
God damn it. Fuck neighbors. Neighbors suck.
I agree.
No neighbors. I'm moving out into the woods.
We should figure out a way to make every house have at least a mile in between that and your next closest neighbor.
Agreed.
Tanya's son has the fucking monster hand on its back now somehow. And so, like, he goes running off, and Roger goes to, like, chase after him and, like, tells Tanya to, like, wait. His idea is he pulls Robert, Tanya's son, into the bathroom. Not creepy at all. Robert at this point is like crying and screaming because he's trying to like rip this hand off its back, off his back that has like worked its way kind of up towards its neck and into like his hair. Roger has to like bite the hand and then flushes it down the toilet. Tanya sees no problem with Roger pulling this kid into the bathroom that has come out fucking crying. And it's just like, well, you can babysit him for the night. It's cool. Very strange.
I don't know. Some of the parenting I've seen on like Abducted in Plain Sight, like honestly, I don't bat an eyelash at that anymore. It's like, oh yeah, no, that's just being a parent, I guess, is making terrible decisions.
Just constantly putting your child in danger. Roger is writing and has a Vietnam flashback, this time of Ben being shot because he refuses to listen to orders, and like kind of they go off on their own. Instead of going back, Ben just decides he's got to keep going forward. Eventually gets like shot.
I hope he learned a lesson.
He does not.
Yeah, he doesn't. Spoiler alert.
Roger is kind of like brought out of this like flashback by Robert crying for, I guess, missing his mom. So Ben sets him in front of the TV and Robert immediately falls asleep.
Very good babysitter.
I think that happens before he has the flashback. So then when like after he gets out of the flashback is when Robert is missing. And two fucking creatures have like grabbed Robert and just like pull him up the chimney. And then there's this like ridiculous like tug of war scene of these two creatures holding Robert by the arms and Roger's holding him by the legs, not on the ground. He is like pulled up off the ground too and trying to like tug of war this fucking child. He, after that, like after he gets like Robert from these two creatures, he gives him a bath. Tanya eventually shows up to pick him up. It's
again playing this all very cool. Like, just tug of war with some monsters, not a big deal. Let's take a bath. It's fine. Whatever. I'll just wash my neighbor's kid that I've never met before. Also,
yeah,
totally not weird.
Known for like 6 hours.
A lot of people overstepping their bounds in this film.
Yeah, the 80s seemed like...
I was going to say the 80s were a wild time.
So I was like 8 by the time the 80s ended, so I don't remember fucking anything about it other than The Simpsons, so...
Apparently, that's for the best.
Yes. Roger invites Harold over and tells him he has like a trapped raccoon in the closet. And hands him the harpoon gun and puts those fucking like skiing goggles on him. And he's basically just like, I got this raccoon in there that's like comes in there to nest, and then it like chewed a hole into the ceiling to get out in the attic to go eat during the day or fucking whatever. And he's like, I'm gonna open it and I'll need you to shoot it right between the eyes. And he's like so Harold is just kind of like, okay, this is not strange at all, but whatever. Roger grabs a full fucking mattress to hold in front of him. Like,
not taking any chances with that raccoon.
Goes to open the door, and the fucking giant monster from previously, like the fucking Hellraiser monster, comes fucking whipping out. Harold obviously is a fucking terrible nervous person and like does that thing where immediately he like just doesn't shoot the gun and just like freaks out for the first like minute, which fair. I saw this fucking...
he's not handling it as well as earlier.
I mean, like, he's handling it as I feel like anybody would be other than Roger with seeing a monster for the first time. Roger's just like, oh yeah, of course there's monsters in this house.
Why wouldn't there be?
Harold eventually shoots the harpoon gun into this monster, but lets go of it. The rope catches Roger's foot and drags him into this fucking ghost world that is essentially like it's like a ghost world, but like I guess he sees it as like Vietnam. He sees Ben in there wounded, who is asking Roger to kill him. Roger can't do it, and Ben is dragged off to be like a prisoner by the Vietnamese soldiers or whatever. He's screaming that he's gonna get Roger back for this, or whatever, some kind of fucking revenge nonsense. Roger comes running out of the ghost world in this closet, and Harold is now sitting on the mattress, drunk, from I think a bottle of fucking, I don't even know why I'm trying to guess what this bottle is. I don't drink, so what's the fucking square bottle? Jack Daniels?
Yeah.
Like the Black Label or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Jack Daniels. I should know that because there's a huge like processing plant near me that just smells like absolute shit every time you drive by it.
That's Jack Daniels, all right.
Yeah. At this point, Roger is sees a painting that his aunt did that he moves like a very conveniently placed like towel or something off it that shows his son Jimmy in a bathroom mirror. So he goes into the bathroom and is trying to figure out what's going on and smashes the mirror that leads into this is like another doorway into this fucking ghost world. A weird octopus tentacle arm comes reaching out and grabs him, and then more hands, like monster hands, that try to drag him in. But Roger is able to fight them off with a fucking straight razor. That just
Which is impressive.
Yes. Also, I have not seen Roger shave, so I don't know why that's sitting there.
Just in case he needs to shave.
Just in case
you never know.
Monsters show up.
Maybe he needs to shave the monsters.
I'm gonna buy a straight razor now just for that scenario.
Yeah,
never know.
I don't know what's gonna pop through my bathroom mirror at any given moment.
After he gets done like fighting these monsters off, he hears Jimmy yell and realizes it's coming through that like the bathroom mirror. He goes and gets a rope and his gun and like climbs in. And this whole scene is fucking super goofy, but like I think like the sound effects and then like Harry Manfredini, I think that's how you pronounce his name. His score in it is kind of makes it awesome, where it's just all black and all you see is like Roger like hanging on this rope that he's like climbing down. And then a weird fucking, like, Army of Darkness style, like, skeleton pterodactyl thing just shows up and steals his gun.
It looks so cool. Like, it's got... You only see... It looks like it's torso up. Like, I don't remember seeing legs. And he just, like, flies in and just plucks it right out of his hands and just flies off like it's not a big deal.
It's awesome. It's got that, like, perfect... Like, you see it now, and you're like, I guarantee you people that are just, like, like an 18-year-old would see it now and be like, what's this goofy-ass shit? But it's, like, that perfect 80s practical effect that's, like, goofy but super awesome looking.
Yes.
But fucking just walks up and steals his gun and shoots the rope he's on, so Roger just falls into a bunch of water. This fucking dick move on the skeleton pterodactyl thing. Roger's in the water and sees bubbles and assumes, or thinks it might be his son, so he goes swimming under, and when he comes out, he is now like in this Vietnam nonsense again and sees his son in like a bamboo cage, which more totally normal stuff. He goes to save Jimmy and starts like a bunch of gunfire cuts like going on around him. Him and Jimmy swim away, and like as they go like swimming back under and they come out and they're like in the pool Jimmy disappeared in earlier in like whenever he disappeared however many years ago. This kid has to have been gone for long enough that he should have aged, I would assume.
415 years.
I mean, it's long enough that like Jimmy or Roger and Sandy were had to have dealt with it had it been long enough that it now caused them to get divorced.
Yeah.
Like, it's at least... And they're both, like, successful people, which means that divorce was at least a year minimum. So this kid should be 37 by now.
Rough estimate.
I'm assuming that's how the ghost world works. They kind of escape, and it looks like it's gonna be like a happy ending. They're going to like leave the house, and as they open the front door, skeleton Big Ben is standing there and stops them.
Dun dun.
Another pretty
Ben
awesome.
Big.
That's what I was gonna say at first, and I was like, no. He looks fucking awesome, except his mouth.
Yeah.
His mouth when he talks is goofy as shit, but
Yes, because you can see his real mouth behind the skeleton one.
it also like doesn't have any sort of like articulation to it, so it's just the mouth like opening and
This
closing
chompy,
like a fucking
yeah.
puppet. But it rules. It's
But
so
he looks
good.
fucking awesome.
I remember like I think like now I'm thinking about it. I wonder if I saw this on TV and then rented it afterwards, because I feel like I saw this on either Monster Vision or like USA Up All Night. Probably Monster Vision. But I remember seeing it where there was like a TV host at some point, like when I was like really young.
Yeah.
But I remember like I think I'd like flipped past it and I saw like the skeleton and I was like, what the fuck?
What's happening here?
So he like the skeleton version of Big Ben has stopped them. And there's like a chase kind of throughout the house. Like Roger sent Jimmy to go get help. And like, so Roger is being kind of chased by Ben. Roger escapes to the roof and climbs back into the house through the attic. And they eventually meet back up and they kind of have this like fight in I guess like a dining room area, because Roger throws this like giant table in front of him and Ben just like swats it away like it's nothing. Roger goes to run through this door, immediately falls into it, which is just like into like this fucking world, like this weird ghost world fucking rocky cliff. He is hanging there, like hanging off this cliff. Ben is like stepping on his fingers. Roger somehow has the wherewithal to take his belt off and wrap it into like a weird kind of noose thing, throw it around Ben and pull Ben into it to where Ben just fucking smashes into these rocks below him.
An incredible feat of strength, by the way.
100%. They're like
it's not like he got him like around the foot and tripped him or anything. He got him like on the arm and then tugged and pulled this large man
that was able to
off of a cliff.
Swat away a giant dining room table like nothing.
Like, should have easily been able to be like, no, and just stand there. And if anything, lift what's his name up off of the cliff face.
Number one, it is impressive as shit that he was able to take his belt off one-handed while hanging off this thing while having his hand stepped on, let alone pull this fucking massive man over.
Right.
But so Ben has smashed into the watery rocks below and is presumed dead.
R.I.P.
Roger climbs out and hears Jimmy yelling for him and runs to find him, and Ben now is back and is holding Jimmy and threatening.
Plot twist.
Yeah. Threatening to kill Jimmy because Ben wanted Roger to kill him and Roger wouldn't do it, and he was like, I guess, tortured and shit, so now he's taking it out on Roger. Roger at this point just starts yelling that he's not afraid of him and he can't harm him. There's like a quick thing of like Ben cutting off Roger's hand, but he realizes it's not real, so he's like taking the power back or whatever. Roger grabs a grenade off Ben's belt and just jams it into his fucking torso. And him and Jimmy go running off as it explodes and fucking blows Ben the fuck up and then catches the house on fire. Sandy, at this point, has now pulled up. Harold is standing out front, and they're like, just nobody running to call the fire department or anything, just stared at this house just engulfed in flames.
Totally fine.
And Roger and Jimmy come to the front door. Jimmy sees his mom and goes running to her, and then there's like a fucking freeze frame on Roger just being happy. It's a very fucking strange ending. But yeah, that's House. A very good movie.
It's fantastic and super fucking weird, and y'all should absolutely watch it if you haven't seen it.
We are definitely going to do House 2 at some point, which is even stranger because it's almost like fucking shit, what's the Billy Crystal movie? It's like City Slickers.
City Slickers?
In a fucking house. There's like an old man that they're trying to like find his treasure, and there's like some fucking weird Indiana Jones like totem thing in it. It is fucking crazy.
I really wish Billy Crystal was in House 2.
I agree a lot.
And Daniel Stern.
I wish Daniel Stern was in everything.
Yes.
What was... Oh, it was, is it Madman he's in that they did on Joe Bob?
Yes. No, Chud.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It was Chud. But I was just like, man, Daniel Stern rules. He should be in just fucking everything.
Yeah.
He needs to come back.
He's brilliant.
So yeah, watch this movie if you've never seen it before, because it's fucking... Even if it's just for, like, the special effects in it, of, like, the monster creations are pretty fucking spectacular.
Even if you have seen it before, watch it again.
Yeah. Just never watch anything besides this. And next time we will do House the series. I assume that is a spin-off of this and there are monsters in it. I have not seen an episode, but I'm just going to assume.
That would be so good. just like a different monster comes to the hospital every week.
Hugh Laurie working on monsters, trying to figure out what they are, or like what's going on with them. It's just like, oh, I get it. You're a monster. That's why you're sick.
Yeah.
You can't breathe.
That's what it was. That's all that's wrong with you.
I don't know if you had I thought of anything, but I was going to continue to do like, oh, here's like a cool thing I've been into each episode. Try and just, I don't know, shout something out. But I've been listening to this podcast called Behind the Bastards that is infuriating and funny because it's like this dude that just goes into like excruciating detail about the worst people on the fucking planet. Like he did like a 3 or 4 part episode on Alex Jones.
Oh, God.
And it's like shit like that where like this week's episode, like he does, it's like 2 to 3 episodes every week. This week he's doing the history of like border militias. And like last week was something about like the woman who essentially created adoption by stealing children and selling them to rich people. And then like he did one on like the company that basically created like OxyContin and shit like that, where like it started as this idea, like the first couple episodes were about like weird things with dictators, like how like Saddam Hussein apparently is like a fucking weird like young adult novel. He wrote like young adult novels and shit, and like he did one episode where they like broke down the contents of like Osama bin Laden's computer after he was killed, and how like the movie Ants was on it, and fucking like all of these weird video games, and then just like tons of porn. And it started off as like shit like that, and then it slowly turned into shit like where he did an episode on like Jacob Wool and fucking all of these absolute garbage people now that are like incredibly fascinating, but they do it in like a way that it's like also there's, you know, it's like the host is funny and he has like usually kind of comedians or funny people come on to like talk about it. Yeah. So it's got like a funny bent to it, but it's really good. I highly suggest if you hate everything about the world right now to listen to it, because like a lot of it is super relevant to shit that's happening now. Like they did an episode that broke down kind of like the current Nazi party and shit that's going on with just like in general fucking fascists.
Yeah.
And like just broke down how like all of this shit that happened in the 30s that led to like the Nazis taking over Germany is literally the exact same shit that's happening right now. It's just it's really good. If you're into kind of just shit that's gonna make you mad all the time, like me, I would suggest listening to it. You got anything?
I watched a movie that was recently added to Shudder this past week called Dead Birds.
Oh, I saw that today.
I had kind of heard about, but didn't really know anything about. And it takes place during the Civil War, where some Confederate soldiers like go to an abandoned plantation after robbing a bank, and it turns out the plantation is haunted. And it's a really surprisingly good, intense little, one-spot thriller horror movie. So, highly recommended.
Nice. I like right before we started recording, I was trying to figure out like what other movies to do through like the rest of May. I was trying to find like one more. And that came up, and I was like, Dead Bird sounds like it would be like a really stupid movie. But then I was like, but Shudder has it, which means it's probably awesome and like not worth doing on here.
Right. It was written by Simon Barrett, who he helped write like The Guest and You're Next and a couple of segments on VHS.
I'm in. I'm gonna watch that shit. That sounds. I mean, I was gonna I'd probably end up watching it anyway because the title "Dead Birds" alone would have pulled me in. But
right,
knowing Simon Barrett did it, like, because You're Next is fucking amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, you can see kind of the seeds for You're Next in this.
Yeah,
it's really good. I was surprised.
Oh yeah. So next week we're gonna do Mansquito.
Yes. The ultimate.
And then what was after that? Death House?
Yes.
All right.
Which is like the Expendables for horror icons.
I know I've seen like a poster, I think, for it on like maybe Instagram, but I don't know like anything about it, so I'm stoked to just go in.
I don't know jack shit about it other than, it has Michael Berryman and Kane Hodder and Adrienne Barbeau and Barbara Crampton and Lloyd Kaufman and...
Oh shit, you sold me Barbara Crampton and Lloyd Kaufman.
Like, everyone you could possibly think of. Bill Moseley, Tony Todd, Vernon Wells.
So I was thinking after that to like close out May. I don't know, I didn't get a chance to look up to see if it was like available streaming anywhere or even like to rent, but I was thinking maybe Shocker.
Oh, hell yeah.
Like, I didn't know how available that was going to be for you, because I have it on Blu-ray now. But I definitely want to talk about that movie at some point. So I was like, well, we got like 1 week to close out May, so we can do Shocker if you can get to it.
Hell yes. That is an absolutely batshit movie.
It's so good. It's good in like the dumbest way.
Yes.
So yeah, I think Mansquito and Death House, you said, are like both streaming on Prime.
Mansquito is Prime and Death House is Netflix.
Okay, so both of those are at least widely available. Shocker, I didn't get to look, but I'm assuming it's probably not streaming. You probably rent it on like iTunes or Prime or something, but
yeah,
I think like the Blu-ray was maybe like $15, so just buy it as Wes Craven. And
yeah, it's one I need to buy anyway.
It's got... I like one of the first CDs I remember owning was the soundtrack to this. Because it had like fucking Megadeth and like Alice Cooper and shit on it. Yeah, watch those. I think the only news thing I saw that was at all interest to me is that the It trailer is coming out tomorrow as of when we're recording this.
Yeah, so it'll be out.
Yeah.
By the time you hear this.
I'm sure we'll talk about it on the next episode because I can't fucking wait. I don't know. Is it a teaser or is it a full trailer? Do you know?
That I don't know.
I hope it's not one of those just like 20-second fucking teasers. It'd be nice if there was like actually something in it as opposed to just some like nonsense of just like Pennywise showing up and it's just like a teaser for a trailer.
Yeah. Look at this balloon floating.
Yeah.
Like, goddamn.
I feel like there was like one other story I saw that I was gonna like bring up, but I can't remember now. Oh, I watched Suspiria and I still have no idea what the fuck happened in it.
That sounds right.
No spoilers, but I watched Suspiria 18 and I don't know. Like the entire movie, I was just like, what is going on? And
That's a fair reaction, I think.
I need to watch it at least one more time, if not more, to just, I guess, fucking wrap my head around. Because I think the first watch, I was just like, oh, this is very kind of, like, drab looking and not at all what I would expect from, like, a Suspiria remake.
Right.
So that kind of, like, soured me at the beginning. And then, like, the last, like, 20 or 30 minutes are pretty insane. Fuck, what's her name? Tilda Swinton is fucking great in it.
Yes. In all 16 of her roles.
Fucking playing the entire cast that isn't Dakota Johnson and fucking Chloe Moretz or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. Watch Suspiria, I guess. I'm assuming everybody besides me had seen it already, so. All right. Fuck. I hope you suffer, but why?
Don't trust your neighbors.